What if I told you the most talked about woman on Love and Marriage? Huntsville has never even been on the show, but her name alone is shaking the entire cast, dividing fans, and testing the network's limits. This is where the real drama begins. The whirlwind surrounding Love and Marriage. Huntsville has spun into something far more intense than anyone expected, and at the heart of this latest storm is a woman who's never officially been part of the cast, Arionne Curry. 4 years. Her name has drifted through the show's universe like a lingering echo, always there, always controversial, impossible to dismiss. Martell Holt, her longtime on-off partner and the father of her child, has been campaigning hard to bring her onto the screen, but both the OWN network and executive producer Carlos King, along with the show's loyal fans, are standing firm in their refusal. For now, the door remains closed. That decision has triggered a wave of frustration, late-night rants, and social media debates that fans continue to analyze post by post to truly understand why the current tension around Love and Marriage, Huntsville, feels so combustible. It's worth rewinding to where it all began, the show's roots, and the vision that made it a phenomenon in the first place. When producer Carlos King conceived Love and Marriage, Huntsville, his mission wasn't to chase viral drama or create another shouting match reality series. His idea was more deliberate, more meaningful, a platform to highlight successful Black couples balancing love, business, and legacy in one of the South's most ambitious cities. Huntsville, Alabama, often called the Rocket City, became the perfect backdrop, a place where innovation met tradition, where the old notions of Southern life could be rewritten through the lens of modern Black excellence. Carlos wanted to tell stories that were aspirational yet grounded. Love and Marriage. Huntsville wasn't just about luxury cars, grand homes, or televised dinner parties. It was about the internal push and pull between ambition and intimacy. How do you build generational wealth while keeping your marriage intact? How do you grow a business with your spouse when the line between partner and competitor blurs? It was a chance to showcase the nuanced, complicated, and often underrepresented reality of Black love in America, not as a stereotype, but as a source of pride and depth. When the series premiered, it had that magic spark. At its core were Martell and Melody Shari Holt, the golden couple. They were young, attractive, successful, and visionary. Together, they embodied the balance Carlos King wanted viewers to see. Two people not just building a home but building an empire. Their real estate ventures, community projects, and joint ambitions became a symbol of what partnership could look like when love met purpose. Alongside them were other couples who brought their own unique dynamics to the screen. Letitia and Marcia Scott offered a powerful glimpse into entrepreneurship through their construction and real estate businesses, tackling both financial growth and marital friction as their dreams expanded. Morris and Kimmy Scott showcased the beauty and challenges of a blended family, blending honesty with maturity as they navigated parenting, trust, and new beginnings. Tiffany and Louis Whitlow injected a dose of youth and modernity, showing how transparency and emotional intelligence could reframe traditional relationship roles. And then came Stormy Steele and Courtney Beasley, the entrepreneurial powerhouse duo who exuded creativity and hustle, their story representing the unapologetic drive of Black innovation. Together, these couples formed a mosaic, a portrait of ambition and resilience. The show's early seasons felt refreshing because they presented a narrative seldom seen on television. It wasn't about dysfunction, it was about discipline. Viewers were drawn in by intelligent discussions on business strategy, marital growth, and community involvement. It was part entertainment, part empowerment, a masterclass in what it meant to pursue love and success simultaneously. But, as often happens with reality television, perfection eventually gave way to pressure. The same authenticity that made the series inspiring also left it vulnerable to real human cracks. When Martell Holt's extramarital affair with Arionne Curry became public knowledge, the equilibrium shattered. What had once been a celebration of partnership and purpose suddenly became a national conversation about betrayal, ego, and consequences. That revelation didn't just expose a personal scandal, it reshaped the DNA of the show. The audience that once tuned in for business updates and relationship growth now found itself drawn to the chaos. Unable to look away, the tone shifted almost overnight. Instead of watching the couples collaborate on property deals or mentorship programs, viewers found themselves watching emotional confrontations, court filings, and social media. Arionne Curry, though never officially part of the cast, became the invisible centerpiece of this new era. Her name floated through every conversation like smoke, present, elusive, and impossible to contain. She was the unseen antagonist, the other woman who disrupted not just a marriage, but the moral compass of the show's original mission. Fans developed strong opinions about her without ever seeing her on camera. She became the cautionary tale, the woman many blamed for breaking apart what had been portrayed as an aspirational union. And that, ironically, is what made the series even more magnetic. Audiences have always been fascinated by the contrast between the image and the reality, the shiny surface and the storm beneath it. The show evolved from an uplifting depiction of Black excellence into something raw and more reflective of human imperfection. Viewers debated it fiercely online. Was it exploitation? Or was it truth-telling? Was Love and Marriage, Huntsville still a story about success? Or had it become a mirror reflecting how ambition and ego can quietly destroy the very thing they're built on? For Carlos King, that shift was both a blessing and a dilemma. The drama drove ratings, yes, but it also threatened the integrity of his vision. The show had begun as a blueprint for unity and growth, not as a soap opera of betrayal and resentment. Yet once Pandora's box was opened, there was no closing it. The audience's appetite for the mess overshadowed their appreciation for the message. Meanwhile, within the cast, the ripple effects were unavoidable. Martell Holt transformed her pain into power, evolving from a partner in a crumbling marriage into a self-made mogul. Her journey resonated deeply with women who had faced public humiliation and found strength in rebuilding themselves. Martell, once admired as a leader and visionary, became the show's cautionary example of self-sabotage. The Scotts, the Whitlows, and Stormy's family all had to navigate the fallout, their own stories often overshadowed by the ongoing scandal that refused to die. And through it all, Arionne remained the shadow figure, never present, yet always central. Every tweet, every cryptic post, every rumor about her stirred the fandom into a frenzy. She became the ghost that haunted every storyline, the uninvited guest who didn't need a seat at the table to dominate the conversation. By the time newer seasons rolled around, Love and Marriage, Huntsville had become something different, a cultural microcosm of love, ambition, accountability, and chaos. Viewers weren't just watching the cast build houses or businesses, they were watching them rebuild themselves. The show stopped being just a reality series and started feeling like a sociological study, a case in how fame and real life collide, and how truth, once exposed, changes everything. That's why the debate around Arionne's inclusion remains so divisive. To some, she's the missing piece, the key to authenticity in a show that claims to be rooted in reality. To others, her presence represents everything the series was meant to rise above. And in the middle of that conflict sits Carlos King, balancing the impossible, the pursuit of compelling television without compromising the soul of what made it meaningful in the first place. Because at its heart, Love and Marriage, Huntsville isn't just about business deals or broken vows. It's about what happens when love, ambition, and human imperfection intersect, and how, even in the midst of chaos, there's still a story worth telling. That's the conflict in a nutshell. Martell insists that authenticity means showing every part of his life, including Arionne. To him, leaving her out makes the show feel scripted, but OWN executives see things differently. From their standpoint, bringing her on would betray the show's core values. Why give a national platform to someone who knowingly participated in a relationship that dismantled a marriage? Why glorify behavior that runs counter to the show's original mission of celebrating love, unity, and growth? For the network, it's not merely about ratings or shock value. It's about protecting the foundation on which Love and Marriage, Huntsville was built. At the heart of the network's resistance lies one simple truth. This isn't just about protecting a TV show, it's about safeguarding the brand, and more importantly, preserving Melody Cherie's story of resilience. Melody has transformed public heartbreak into a masterclass on survival. Since walking away from Martell, she's built an empire brick by brick, turning humiliation into motivation. Her ventures in music, business, public speaking, and philanthropy have crowned her as the undeniable centerpiece of Love and Marriage, Huntsville. For her fans, the idea of Arionne Curry stepping into that same spotlight feels like betrayal, as if the dignity Melody displayed through her divorce would be erased in one casting decision. Even the viewers who thrive on drama agree. Giving Arionne a platform feels wrong, yet Martell refuses to drop the issue. His storyline has grown thin, with Melody no longer willing to film romantic scenes and his business ventures failing to impress. He's grasping for relevance. To him, Arionne is the lifeline, the one spark that still makes people talk. Every late-night post, every cryptic quote, Every veiled threat she shares online sends blogs into overdrive. What Martell sees as engagement, producers see as a potential explosion waiting to happen. Arionne's frustration, however, is palpable. She's spent years watching from the sidelines as others profit from a story she helped shape. Cast members have built brands, signed deals, and multiplied their fame, while she's been cast as the villain, mocked, excluded, and unpaid. Her late-night social media rants aren't random. They're the voice of someone who feels erased. She wants the recognition, the money, and the validation of being an official part of the show. But the barrier keeping her out is stronger than she imagined, and her relentless push against it is shaking the series from within. Martell's decline has been hard to ignore. Once portrayed as a proud builder and family man, he's now seen as a man clinging to what's left of his fame. Melody's star keeps rising. Stormy's business flourishes. Even the Scotts, despite their own controversies, continue to evolve. But Martell remains stuck in a loop, one that always circles back to Arionne. OWN executives recognize the risk in that. Reality television thrives on drama, but chaos without control can destroy a brand. And Arionne is unpredictable, outspoken, unfiltered, and unwilling to play by network rules. She doesn't protect reputations, she exposes them. That makes her both magnetic and dangerous. Producers prefer drama they can manage, not wildfires they can't contain. Arionne's social media tirades and late-night shade make her a liability. Still, the debate among fans rages on. Some argue that true reality TV shouldn't hide real relationships. If Martell is with Arionne, then show it. Others insist her inclusion would taint everything the show stands for. To them, putting her on camera would send a toxic message that betrayal wins and integrity loses. Carlos King, the creative force behind the franchise, knows the stakes better than anyone. His name is tied to some of reality TV's most iconic moments, but Love and Marriage, Huntsville is personal. It's about representation, showing ambitious, successful black families, not glorifying scandal. Carlos has publicly questioned whether Martell would ever truly commit to Arionne, which, to him, makes her presence irrelevant. The show's title isn't Love and Chaos, it's Love and Marriage, and Arionne, in his view, represents neither. That clarity has guided his decision, and fans have taken it as a sign that he won't be swayed. Meanwhile, financial pressure is tightening around Martell. Cast members are paid only for scenes that make it to air, and with fewer appearances, his checks are shrinking. His fight to bring Arionne in isn't just emotional, it's financial. He sees her as a storyline that could put him back at the center. For Arionne, the payoff is just as obvious. National exposure means opportunity, brand deals, followers, relevance. Together, they see potential. The network, however, sees risk. Behind the scenes, the rest of the cast quietly supports OWN's decision. The Scotts are already navigating whispers of infidelity. They don't need more fuel. Kimmy is focused on her health and peace, not chaos. Stormy and Tiffany are building their own brands and have no interest in being overshadowed by scandal. For them, keeping Arionne off-screen protects not just the show, but their own stability. And yet, Arionne's presence refuses to fade. She doesn't need a camera to make noise. Her name surfaces in every argument, every interview, every social media thread. She lingers like a ghost over the series, unseen, but impossible to ignore. Each cryptic caption or meme she posts reignites the drama producers are desperate to contain. When she shared that infamous Chucky post at 4 a.m., captioned "me thinking about what I let slide," it wasn't just a joke, it was a warning. Fans dissected it endlessly, debating who she was targeting. Some thought it was Martell, others believed it was Melody. A few argued it was directed at everyone who mocked her. Whatever the truth, one thing is certain: Arionne Curry may not be on camera, but she's still driving the conversation in the end. The message behind Arionne's late-night post couldn't have been clearer. She wanted attention, and she got it. But as the spotlight flickers between them, Martell's standing grows shakier by the day. His ex-wife is soaring, his castmates are expanding their empires, and his own storyline has become a revolving door of regret, arguments, and unrealized potential. With Melody refusing to engage and producers refusing to budge on Arionne, Martell looks like a man out of moves, still clinging to the one person who guarantees conversation, even when that conversation paints him in the worst possible light. Critics say he's trapped in a loop, unable to evolve beyond the scandal that cost him everything. The irony is that both he and Arionne see themselves as victims of neglect. Arionne believes her decade-long connection to Martell and the child they share earns her a place at the table. Martell argues that the show loses authenticity by pretending she doesn't exist. Yet both seem blind to how deeply their reputations have been shaped by the very choices that brought them here. From the network's perspective, the risk simply isn't worth it. Carlos King knows that Love and Marriage, Huntsville stands for more than shock value. It's built on representation, growth, and the image of Black excellence, not dysfunction for the sake of views. The fans who cheer for Melody's rise and the couples working to mend their relationships would feel betrayed if the show rewarded the chaos that tore one of its central families apart. Ratings drive television. But for Carlos, legacy drives the franchise. The rest of the cast understands that, too. Melody's success has become the show's backbone. Her story uplifts the brand itself. Losing her would be disastrous. And she's made her boundary unmistakably clear. She will not share a stage with Arionne. Kimmy treasures her peace and refuses to invite unnecessary conflict. Stormy and Tiffany want to focus on their businesses, not someone whose notoriety thrives on turmoil. Even Marsa and Morris, who are often accused of stirring the pot, recognize the danger. Letting Arionne in would put everyone's credibility and privacy at risk. No one benefits from that scenario except Martell, and even then, the victory would be fleeting. What keeps Love and Marriage? Huntsville alive isn't chaos alone, it's contrast. The audience tunes in to watch who rises and who repeats old mistakes. Melody's perseverance shines brighter next to Martell's stagnation. Stormy's ambition underscores his lack of growth. Arionne's rants, intended to demand visibility, only reinforce her exclusion. The more she fights to be seen, the more obvious it becomes why producers keep her in the shadows where her volatility can't consume the show. Still, the unanswered questions linger, the kind that keep viewers glued to every episode. Scrolling through fan pages, long after the credits roll, will Martell ever truly commit to Arionne? Or is she destined to remain a storyline he leans on rather than a partner he builds with? The uncertainty between them has become its own form of entertainment. A slow-burning subplot that refuses to fade. Arionne's social media presence only fuels that uncertainty. Every late-night message, every cryptic caption, every image drenched in hidden meaning feels like a spark thrown into gasoline. Fans dissect her posts as if decoding prophecy, wondering whether her next move will be a revelation, a reconciliation, or a fresh explosion of chaos. The question isn't just what she'll say next, it's how the network will respond. Will OWN continue to enforce its firm boundaries? Or will the temptation of ratings eventually outweigh caution? And perhaps the most compelling question of all is whether Martell can ever rebuild his life outside the shadows of his past. He was once seen as the embodiment of ambition and family, a man with both drive and direction. Now, his name often evokes conflict more than construction. Can he reinvent himself? Not as the villain or the ex-husband, but as a man who's learned from his mistakes? Or has the narrative of betrayal defined him too deeply to escape? For now, those answers remain suspended in the air, unresolved but irresistible. That's the secret to Love and Marriage. Huntsville's power, it mirrors real life, where closure rarely comes neatly wrapped. Every post, every glare, every pause between words carries the weight of unfinished business. Until the truth finally surfaces, fans will keep watching, analyzing every silence as carefully as every explosion, because in Huntsville, peace is just the calm before the next storm, and the drama never truly ends. It only waits, quietly, for its next act to begin.